Worrying is a struggle that many people have, and it's something um, that can feel natural, but it's not always natural. And so, worrying obviously isn't healthy, and we should avoid doing it because if you're worrying a lot, worrying can lead to stress, and then like so much stress could really lead to like your heart and stuff like that and different effects in your body. And it's something that we shouldn't do, and the Bible supports this. And a lot of times when we worrying, it's typically because of something that could happen or something that has already happened, and we feel overwhelmed, and then we worry about us not being able to figure it out or fix the problem or to how we're going to make it. And we, the overwhelmed when we're overwhelmed about stuff, we tend to look for the quickest solution because when we're thinking from a very tense and we're very afraid, we're looking for the quickest, easiest solution to stuff, the stuff that's most convenient. But then those easy and short-term solutions might not bring long-term satisfaction. But but before that event even happens, we don't always have an influence of whether or not that of whether or not it happens the way we make it happen. Some things sometimes it's out of our control, but then for things that hasn't even happened yet, we shouldn't be worried about the things that haven't happened yet because they haven't happened yet. And sometimes we get so focused on the bad that we forget about potential good things that can come from it. And when we really are able to think from a calm state about things, right? That allows us to properly think of everything and to take everything into account to make the best decision. But then when we're worrying, there's only two possible outcomes that could happen. But those two outcomes oftentimes haven't happened yet. And this is for what hasn't happened yet. When we worry about stuff that hasn't even happened yet, there's two possible outcomes. The two possible outcomes are is an unpleasant outcome and a pleasant outcome. With the pleasant outcome, at least at least it's not bad, or it's a preferred outcome, an outcome that isn't that bad, versus the unpleasant outcome that that can oftentimes bring worrying to something that has happened. And that when things have happened, we don't always know how to figure out a way to fix it or figure out a way to overcome it. But then, so let's say that has happened. When it has happened, okay, just sitting there and worrying, feeling defeated, sitting in defeat, and whatever state you're in, that's obviously not good. It could potentially make the situation worse the longer we just sit there and not do anything about it. It can make the situation worse, and then things can get even worse to where it's going to be really hard to find that solution. So And then it's often natural for us to focus on the problem and oh my gosh, that's so bad, and then we're just sitting there versus versus when we could be focusing, okay, that thing's coming at me, it keeps coming, or it's happened and things keep getting worse. Well, the longer that you don't do anything about it, it can get even worse. It's kind of like if someone's punching you, right? If someone's trying to come at you and punching you, just pounding into your face, if you don't try to move or get out the way or hit the arm or whatever, hit them out of the way, well, you're just going to be standing there, and then the more damage you're going to take. Versus if you're, okay, I'm getting hit, I need to try to just get out the way and make it stop somehow. That can at least minimize, or minimize the amount of damage you take. Same thing with life. If something's coming at you, you don't know how to fix it, well then typically our nerves and stress and everything starts to build up to where we start to get anxious and we can get worried and not in a clear mind state, and we can get very rushed and how to make this go away because I don't want it, and then we get very panicky and worry, stress, and all that. But then, versus if we try to think from a calm state, as mentioned before, we are able to think about things again from a calm state. And when you're calm, your brain has enough time to process things and to get and to take everything into account. And then that way you have time. And then your breathing and everything is steady. And you're thinking clearly. And then this also goes back to what I said before about thinking of a solution. Don't focus on the problem, focus on the solution, how to get out of it. Because, again, the longer we focus on the problem, the worse things could end up getting. And then, because time is running out. So you have to think of something. And see, oftentimes it's natural for us, like when something happens, we're focusing on the problem instead of focusing on the solution. Okay, how do I get out? How do I try to change it, right? There's a saying about like, okay, we can't always control what happens. We can change how we respond to it. Just like you can't always change how someone wants to hurt you or to even kill you, whatever. You can't always change that, but you can change how you respond to it. And then how you respond to it could end up making the problem better. Because oftentimes when we're focusing on the solution, or no, when we're focusing on the problem, our first instinct is to focus on the problem, and then the more we're focusing on the problem, we're feeling defeated, and then time is running out, and things are getting worse and worse and worse. Versus, okay, you're recognizing the fact, okay, this is happening to you, so then not focusing on the problem gives room to actually start to really think of a solution about how to fix things or make things better. And again, the outcome you can't always control, but you can control, but you can sometimes control how it gets fixed and how things get better. And switching and learning to switch it, okay, like for example, people, when someone tries to come at you with a knife or whatever, punches, people tense up and they try to cover, they try to pet it out the way, and like because there's so much emotion, adrenaline rush, and everything is just coming at you all at once, overwhelming. You don't know how to deal with it. You're just doing the fastest, the most convenient thing that you see available, versus okay, but then the fastest, most convenient thing that's available doesn't always solve the problem, right? If you see someone with a knife coming at you and you try to pat away with your hand, it can end up cutting you. Though that was, even though that was the most convenient thing available to do, it wasn't the most effective. It wasn't maybe the most efficient, right? And so, but then versus like you could look at I don't know the different martial arts and like answers that they might have for stuff, and they have certain techniques, things that work, because martial artists they train to use the most effective method, and they drill it and they drill it and they drill it to where it becomes like second nature. Now, what if we take that concept and we apply it to this? Of okay, I like to where I keep getting into this problem, and it keeps coming at you the same way. How do you solve it? Don't focus on the problem. Focus on the solution. We can't change what happened, but we can change how we respond to it, and that's where we can see a victory. That's where we can see something change. And then, hold on. And then, but yeah, that was just a main thing about worrying. But then this also goes back to one of my other videos I did about um, um, I forgot the moment, but I could post it in the description or whatever. Have a blessed day. Bye.